Good evening and welcome to SACAP's Thriving Through Coaching, Corporate Coaching webinar. I'm your host, Stephanie DeHaan, and I am the Content and Events Manager for SACAP. Coaching has become widely recognized as by the advantages it provides for businesses, individuals, and families, from expanding self-awareness and collective responsibility to embodying emotional and social intelligence. Coaching is more than just a tool to achieve goals. So without any further ado, I will now hand over to Kirti, who will navigate the unlimited possibilities of thriving through corporate coaching, personally, professionally, and as a leader.
Thank you, Stephanie. So we've got 20 minutes. I'm just going to have a look at the times. Fantastic. I'm Kirti Karr. I'm a master consciousness coach. I have an accreditation credential with ICF. I've got my PCC credential. I'm also with Commensa. I am vice chair of the Coaching Supervision Committee. I absolutely love coaching, and through my career in coaching, I've worked a lot in the corporate space. What I've noticed is that to really understand the value of coaching, we need to understand the climate that we operate in. And as the next slide comes up, I think you will recognize a lot of the words on this slide. It doesn't matter whether we're an entrepreneur, whether we're a mother, whether we're a sister, whether we're in business, whether we're in a large corporate space. As a person, as a human being, under any circumstance, within any role, we have needs for passion and purpose, a journey to happiness. We are searching for balance. We experience time pressures. We, with COVID, have experienced different work climates, remote working, hybrid working, online, virtual environments. With the rapid pace of change that we're faced with, the new, the unknown, uncertainty, new technology, having to adopt new skills, new approaches, new thinking, ways of thinking, tight budgets, and the impact that a lot of this has on us. I'm sure you can relate to some of this, if not all of this. Yeah, no matter the context, no matter the environment, the impact that it has on us is it brings out coping behaviors. To some extent, and for some of us, it might even take us into survival mode. What is it I need to do and do quickly in order to get through this? And that is very far from thriving. When we are in this environment, when we are caught up under the impact of all of these pressures, then we might find ourselves in the middle of something that looks like this. A higgledy-piggledy mess, being in the middle of the haystack, trying to find our way out. Sometimes feeling paralyzed, sometimes feeling indecisive, sometimes feeling like there is no way out. I'm powerless to change things. I can't even see what this could look like differently, let alone start creating that. And this is where the value of coaching comes in. A lot of what is needed to navigate this, we cannot access when we're in the middle of it. And if we look at the next slide, you'll see this beautiful saying, I know of no better life purpose than to perish in attempting the great and the impossible. A lot of what is needed when we're in the middle of that higgledy-piggledy mess or under stress or trying to survive feels impossible. It feels too big. It feels like a mountain that I need to climb. And the impact emotionally is that we tend to be demotivated. We're literally trying to make it from day to day. We're not thriving. We're not happy. We're not reaching those peak states or having peak experiences. let alone feeling like we're living a meaningful life or purposeful life. We see that coaching and its value is accessed through it as a reflective learning process. What coaching offers you is a partner, somebody who will partner with you to support you navigate the space that you find yourself in, connect to options and possibilities outside of that, and establish how to close the gap. In that safe space, where your coach could be a compassionate mirror for you, you get to see more about yourself and how you operate, no matter the context. And this is why it's incredibly powerful in the corporate space. Because in the corporate space, we tend to shut down large parts of ourselves. We tend to lose our way to fit in with the organization's way. And these are some of the things that tend to happen. So through coaching, we can come back in touch with ourselves, our strengths, our inherent capabilities, the things that stimulate us and inspire us and drive us and motivate us. And once we come in contact with that, then we can start thriving. So the coaching as a process allows us to access parts of us, access the thinking that will help us to navigate that space. But it also provides us with a very safe space where we can be challenged. And this challenging that happens in coaching is quite important. If we had somebody who thought the same way that we did and did things the same way we did and just agreed with us, then it's very difficult for us to grow or to see beyond ourselves. In the coaching space, a coach will challenge your thinking. Is that the only way? What else is possible? What are you not thinking of? So it's a questioning methodology. And in that process, you get to expand your thinking. You get to expand your view of yourself and your world. You also, in that safe space, can address any fears that arise. And we all know we have fears. Some feel irrational, some we're embarrassed about, and others can paralyze us. They can prevent us from taking action. They can keep us stuck in an environment or a job or a relationship that we're not really growing from or are happy in. So the coaching space is a safe space where you can look at what is needed, look at uncertainty, explore challenges, consider different ways forward, consider new ways forward, consider differences, access diversity in a comfortable way. Not that coaching in itself is comfortable. It does make us uncomfortable. And that's where the value lies. We go to the next slide. We see that awareness precedes choice and choice precedes results. Between choice and results are decisions and actions. So through the coaching process, we increase our awareness. We expand awareness of ourselves and others, as well as the environment. We also expand our awareness into how the past, how our childhood might be influencing us in the present moment. And then we become aware of where we're stuck in patterns, for example. Now we can make new choices. With that awareness, we can make new choices. And we also access the power to act on those choices. So coaching is a beautiful space where your coach can partner with you to look at what actions need to take place, what support do you need, what possible obstacles you might face and need to resolve or overcome to get the results that you want. It's a space where you can dream big and then take the steps to get you there, to create the life you want, to create the experience that you want. And as we move into the next slide, we can see some of the value that we will access through the coaching process. So if you were to choose coaching as a profession and become a coach, what are some of the things that you would then access as a coach? I've just spoken about expanded awareness for you yourself and for others, because as a coach, you need to be trained to be aware of what's going on with your clients. You start becoming aware of responsibility, and where the lack of responsibility and stepping into responsibility, what the impact is of that. By nature, you become open and curious, and this leaks into your whole life, not just in a coaching conversation. So therefore, it makes you a more compassionate leader. It makes you an empathetic leader. It makes you a parent who listens, genuinely listens to their children. And through this process and this awareness, you start living life on purpose, not waiting for purpose to happen to you, but truly creating, making a difference, choosing differently. And I said, you can adopt a new leadership style. There are a number of leaders that are going into coaching, because coaching as a process helps us to navigate the change and the fast pace. So a new way of working. We also learn how to support people to feel safe with us. So whether we're in a coaching conversation or leading or managing a team or talking to our teenage children, the space we provide is safer. And these skills and competencies become second nature the more you step into the coaching program and coaching practice. Of course, listening, I'm not going to go through all of them, you can read through it. If you're a coachee, so someone who is being coached, and we'll see this on the next block, some of the value that you would access is genuinely connecting to yourself in a way that you see your patterns, you see your limiting beliefs, you see the choices you've made, you see the consequences of them. It's like an honest look at yourself and your life and what new choices are required. You learn to be open to challenge, open to new perspectives, open to looking at things differently, doing things differently, which allows you to embrace change. You learn how to face your fears, because through the coaching process, fears will come up. And through that process, you learn that facing your fears is not as scary as you think. And so then you can do it in your life, in other parts of your life. You definitely start taking action, and that's how things move forward. Coaching as a process also allows us to simplify complexity. And we all know that life right now is so complex. There's so many different stress factors that are sitting on top of each other that we have to deal with. Resilience has become a big need. Emotional resilience, physical resilience, change resilience, leadership resilience. Balance. Balance is a word used often, and in a lot of coaching sessions that I've had, people, as they go up the rung and are more and more ingrained and engrossed in the job, find that they lose life-work balance. But what does balance mean? How does balance look when you consider your values and your priorities and what you're actually doing day to day? So what does balance look? That is something you can work through in a coaching session. And then to switch your thinking so that you're creative rather than reactive. Rather than life doing you, you doing life. Like, how do you want to live your life? What kind of job do you really want to be doing? What impact do you want to have on the people you meet and engage with? What is your legacy? How do you want to leave this world when you die? And what is it you need to do from today? Take those small steps to create that so that you're living your best life. There are other points in there that you can have a look at, but I also want to look at this from an organizational point, and that's the last block. And there are more bullet points. I've just put a few on. But when we, through coaching, support individuals to become better versions of themselves and to consciously create and consciously step into challenging their thinking, challenging the way they work, then suddenly they feel empowered to challenge systems, processes, leadership, objectives. And you want that if you as an organization are going to be innovative, if you're going to be thought leaders, if you're going to be industry leaders, if you're going to access and leverage the value that's available in diversity. And one of the key terms that are being bandied about everywhere in the corporate space is psychological safety. And the standard response to psychological safety has been, oh, well, let's do some well-being drives. Well, well-being drives are like band-aids on a dirty wound. They don't really help anyone or anything. They're great and thoughtful. However, they don't really provide psychological safety. To provide psychological safety and to move the dial on that, coaching is a great process to bring into the organization. But B, you really want to understand your people and their needs. So one of the ways to increase psychological safety in an organization is to bring in a coaching approach, to have your leaders, your managers, your team leaders, your supervisors using a coaching approach in their leadership. That allows people to connect on the level of human being, so human to human connection. Engagement, collaboration, inclusion, innovation, cost. These are the things that you want to be creating, and coaching will support drive. Coaching definitely makes people feel seen, heard, valued, if it's applied systemically through the organization. Yeah. So some organizations do it top down, some do it bottom up, but whichever way you do it, if you are using coaching as a way to connect and engage, you will definitely drive higher performance and have more happier, empowered people. The next slide. You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, it does not exist. It's all about perceptions. And that's the beauty of coaching and being a coach, is you learn to have space for somebody else's perspective and how to create space in somebody else so that they can see another perspective. To be able to engage with all perspectives in a way that there is no right or wrong, but we can maybe, through that engagement, find the way that works best for us. That's what coaching is about. The worst enemy you can meet will always be yourself. You lie in wait for yourself in caverns and forests. Okay? You'll often hear people who are starting to be coaches saying, I just need to get out of my own way. And the more you dive into that, you'll see that your coping mechanisms, your need for protection and safety are the things that stand in your way of adventure and discovering new and learning and stepping into uncertainty. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. I absolutely love that. Discovering your why. I think Simon Sinek says it, the big why, discovering your why. If you're connected to a vision, if you're connected to a value that really switches you on, then you can take those steps that you need to take. And coaching will support you to gain that vision, to clarify it, clean it and polish it and put it where you can see it and it can remind you why you are doing what you are doing. So that is just some idea of the value that you can access through corporate coaching. And it's called, we've said corporate coaching in the title, but really coaching at its heart as a process speaks to the individual, the person, the human being behind a role, behind a circumstance, behind a context. So I hope that has had value for you. And if you've got any questions about coaching as a process or becoming a coach, then please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A and we'll look at them later this evening. And for now, I'm going to hand you over to Kaylynn.
Oh, thank you, Kirti. So thank you for your insightful talk. I really appreciated your perspective on corporate coaching. Lots to reflect on. So good evening, attendees. I'm Kaylynn Philander, SACAP's coaching manager and ICF credentialed coach. SACAP's coaching programs are internationally accredited by the ICF and Commensa approved. On the next slide, it kind of depicts the 3 programs that are starting in term 2 of this year. And it gives you a brief overview of the duration, the accreditations, as well as the NQF levels or whether it's a short learning program. The coaching programs at SACAP allows coaches in training to deepen and refine existing coaching competencies, which has become quite an essential workplace skill. The programs are academic in nature, but with a great balance of theory and practical components. It has been designed specifically for the working professional in mind. Coaching provides numerous benefits for individuals, teams, and organizations. Are you curious about growing your skill set? Perhaps interested in growing the coaching culture at your organization? Well, it's been proven that coaching can assist individuals and teams to make better decisions by offering guidance, perspective, and support. As effective communication is essential for success in business, coaching may assist with developing greater communication skills and strategies for more productive and positive interactions between team members. Coaching may assist to maximize productivity and also to assist individuals to develop and refine their leadership skills. And this may include effective delegation, conflict resolutions, those difficult conversations, and also motivating team members. Individuals gain greater self-awareness of their strengths and areas of development and allowing them to make better choices and decisions within their teams. There's also the value of a better work-life balance, whereby individuals and teams develop strategies for managing their time and responsibilities. And with a greater balance and fulfillment in their personal and professional lives. By setting goals and tracking progress, coaching assists individuals and teams to stay focused and accountable, leading to greater success and achievement. Overall, it may assist individuals, teams, and organizations to achieve their goals, improve their performance, and enhance their success. It's about upskilling. So there's many reasons why upskilling can be beneficial, including improved job prospects. By upskilling, you can stay ahead of the curve and increase your employability. You can have increased job satisfaction. It helps you to perform your job more effectively with greater confidence, leading to a greater job satisfaction and fulfillment. And that kind of leads into the greater self-awareness. It also creates opportunities for career advancement. By expanding your skill set, you may be better equipped to take on new roles and responsibilities. Kirti mentioned this as well. It may increase creativity and innovation. And learning new skills and techniques can inspire creativity, allowing you to approach challenges and tasks in a new and unique way. There's better adaptation to change. The world is constantly changing. And I think 2020 has definitely taught us that. And it's also assisted us into kind of viewing things differently, in trying new technologies, industries, and market trends. And then my favorite, personal growth and development. Through coaching, it helps you develop new interests and passions, leading to personal growth and fulfillment. You understand your purpose, you work with your why. So overall, Upskilling can provide a wide range of benefits, both personally and professionally. When we speak about coaching, we always speak about that ripple effect. It starts with you. It will kind of impact whether it's your family, the way you parent, the way your communication increases or improves between your spouse, your kids. It's also then taken into the workplace. How you communicate with your team, with your colleagues, with the greater organization. By investing in yourself and your skills, you can stay competitive, relevant, and enhance your opportunities for success. And what better way but through coaching? A gentle reminder to be curious. Pop your questions into the QA box below. I now would like to hand over to Nkulu, a coaching graduate.
Thanks so much, Kaylynn and team. I really appreciate the opportunity of just sharing a little bit about my journey. And when the team asked around my experience, there's a couple of areas that asked me to cover. And one of those was the area of complexity. How difficult was the course content? And just to share a little bit about insights regarding my journey prior to the program, I'd completed an EMBA through the UCT Graduate School of Business. And that was a 2-year program. And then in effect, I had a 6-month gap. Then I dived straight into this particular program over the 2 years. So I did the diploma format of the program. And so that was a bit of a sucker for punishment, I would say. But it just meant that from a continuity of learning, it allowed me to have that rhythm. And luckily, with the grace of my family, they allowed me to continue on that path. So I think the complexity came more in just managing the transition from one academic institution to another in terms of just the thought processes and the practical application of learning, as well as knowledge application, as well as acquisition. So a little bit of a transition from the academic that sits within the MBA program as a master's program versus this particular experience. And then the other area of complexity, I suppose, which I would say is a minor challenge, was really around, there was a portion in the course which was crafting our own coaching model. And so, yeah, so for me, that was a complex element around practically coming up with that model and thinking deeply about it and actually agonizing over it, because just by virtue of where I was in my journey and what the course required of me. But otherwise, the value was massively beneficial in all sense of the word. So course content, not difficult. The key is around planning and carefully pacing yourself in terms of the course. Be on top of your assignments that are required of you, engaging with the facilitators and lecturers appropriately, etc. As long as you plan well, you're actually going to be fine from a content perspective. I've touched a little bit about managing my personal life, as it were, in terms of the studies, in terms of my work, etc. And so how did I build rhythms of rest in those scenarios? Again, as I said, I had the grace of my family, and so they allowed me to carry on with the journey. So I had developed the muscle already in terms of studying, being practically orientated towards carving out my weekends, because I was working full time during the course of the day, working into the evenings, and just managing my own rhythm. The one thing I didn't compromise on, I must add, was my exercise routine. I think that really pulled me through, because it really invigorated me. So, hard days work during the course of the day, ended off at around 5, 6, 7 o'clock, do some exercise, an hour in the gym. And that really just re-energized and reinvigorated me for the evening lectures, as well as just purely preparation and just studying during the course of the evening. So please don't compromise on exercise in terms of managing that particular aspect. Yeah, it was a privilege. I had an opportunity of integrating what I was learning in the world of work. I was a chief executive of an organization, an NGO specifically, and so I was able to practically apply my learning. And I think that's what really helped in terms of managing that balance, because ultimately my workplace that I was leading also became my internship environment. So I think those things came beautifully together, and the staff in the organization benefited, especially through the COVID season, as a latter part of my internship, but the course content was massively powerful. And again, please don't neglect on exercise and balancing that out. So that will be my one kind of recommendation to you. In terms of the next area I was asked to cover, in terms of the delivery of the content, what did I like most about it? I think for me, because pre-COVID and we were able to meet in the lecture rooms, that was massively powerful. So we had FaceTime with the facilitator and the lecturers, and then it was the practical exercises at a peer-to-peer level. That was really massively beneficial. I learn and thrive in peer-to-peer environments because there's multiple perspectives that are brought into a particular subject line, and it's about appreciating what those multiple perspectives are and how people leverage different aspects of the coaching theory and content and knowledge, and how they onboarded that versus, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. But because you've expressed it and displayed it, because we had to do practical exercises, hey, I see the benefit in that particular model or framework or piece of knowledge that we acquired. I just want to add here also that content delivery, I've gone a little bit into beyond the delivery, into the internship, into my supervision. That was hugely, hugely beneficial. I had a powerful supervisor. We engaged regularly, and it really helped me navigate in my internship what I was practically applying from the learning that I had from a classroom-based point of view, and to, in the context of my work. What did that look like and feel like? And just, it was a great support in just carrying me through my leadership role in the NGO, as I mentioned, during a COVID season. So again, I think the content amplified by support through the supervision framework is massively powerful. I really appreciated that aspect. And then the team asked me to touch a little bit around what are the things that I learned that I could take beyond the course and that I'm going to carry with me into the future. One of those is really around the model. So whilst I wrestled with creating the model in the earlier phases of my journey, what I finally came up with was massively powerful. I came up with what they call a flow coaching model, which I practically use in my coaching practice. So a little bit more insight, my bio is that I'm actually practicing as a coach, life executive and team coach, ICF accredited, and in terms of the ACC, working towards my PCC. And so I use that model all the time. I've built on it in terms of the evaluation sheets that go with it. So the flow model really is 4 facets, using the acronym FLOW. F for focus, L for line of sight. And so what is the objective that the client is looking to achieve and the goals? How do they create the line of sight? So how do they intend towards achieving that goal? Others, in terms of to whom will the client be accountable? So that's the O of the flow. And then finally, the E is evaluate. When and how is this growth journey going to be measured and evaluated, and what does the client learn from that experience? So again, a model which I'm using now practically in my particular practice from a coaching experience. What else? I think there's an area where I understood and began to appreciate a little bit about understanding the dynamics between coaching and not wanting to enter into the realm necessarily of therapy, of counseling, etc. So being clear of those distinctions. And so being presented with clients who've gone through a post-traumatic stress experience, and through the COVID season, I had my employees who were acting as coaches who were going through traumatic episodes. So PTS is really around bouncing back and supporting and journeying with a particular client from a coaching perspective, not going to the therapy. And if that was necessary, that was a referral process. But it really was then to say, just not simply bouncing back, but how do we help the individual bounce forward? And so I've really explored the area of post-traumatic growth as an added feature into my practice And then that's what the courses helped me to do, is to think beyond my current paradigm and to say, well, innovatively, what can I do in terms of my practice, and not innovative in terms of adding knowledge or et cetera, but my practice to really support and help clients out in the environment. And then the last point was, again, I think I've touched a little bit about what has been the added value of this course to my work and my personal life. Personally, I'm a purpose-driven, values-driven individual. And so my EQ was elevated just by virtue of the practice, listening attentively, asking powerful, simply and concise questions, and really about holding the person's attention throughout the experience. It's all about the individual. It's not about me. And that's really taught to me to work beyond myself. I'm an introvert by nature, but it forced me to seek attentively and partner attentively with the client. And so no longer about me, Nkulu, but it was all about the client. And I think I learned massively around my EQ, raising that, listening attentively, and really just mastering my personal purpose and my values and integrating that into my practice. And that's dovetailed into my HR consulting business, because the techniques of coaching are powerful. I'm sitting with a client, I've got my list of clear, concise questions. We get to the nub of an issue very quickly. Whereas I think if I hadn't gone through that experience, I may have possibly taken longer, et cetera, et cetera. So I think a massive amount of value there. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think I've taken up the time allocated to me, but really open to questions at the end of our time together. If you've got any in terms of specific insights that you want from myself. But Kaylynn and team, thank you. I think that covers hopefully a little bit of a snippet of what has been my experience as alumni coming out of specifically the full program, the 2-year suite of the offering at SACAP.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Nkulu. To Kaylynn and to Kirti as well. Just thank you so much for your time, your insight, your knowledge, and for spending time with us this evening and imparting that on us. We do have a few questions. Kirti, if I could ask you to join me on screen. So we do have one question that says, how does one become a corporate coach? So for example, an internal coach. And I think maybe Nkulu, after that, you could maybe speak into it, having done it yourself.
Yeah, beautiful. So firstly, just to clarify that corporate coach doesn't necessarily equal internal coach. You could be someone who coaches in a corporate space and be external to that business. An internal coach is specifically someone who belongs to an organization and is then operating as a coach within that organization. And that could be your sole role to be the coach in the organization, or it could be in addition to an existing role. So just to clarify that distinction. In terms of becoming a corporate coach and then an internal coach, two different processes. So becoming a corporate coach means you are choosing to do some form of coach training to diploma yourself or qualify as a coach. Corporate coaching means you're then choosing to operate as a coach within a corporate environment. And that is something that you would choose and decide through researching what is available. SACAP has various coaching programs. There are others around that you can look at, and obviously then choose the one that you believe would best work for you in a corporate environment. To take that then internally to either an existing organization that you're part of, or another organization that you want to be an internal coach for, you would then need to approach that organization to find out A, if they do have an internal coaching process, and B, what their requirements are for that. And my recommendation would be to do that investigation before you start your coach training, so that you can align the training that you do with the organization that you want to step into. So that's my 2 cents. Nkulu?
Yeah, I think, Kirti, you've explained it very clearly and accurately. If I think of, as I alluded to, my experience, so whilst I'm studying the subject and the area of coaching, or what it, in terms of getting the practical skills, so that I've got a basket of qualification that I can take with me, I so happen to be practicing as a leader in an organization. So in that context, whilst I wanted to develop a coaching practice as an off-ramp in terms of my career. Eventually, I had a practical application internal to the organization where I was afforded the opportunity of applying my knowledge, my experience, and gained further knowledge and experience organizationally. In terms of my practice now as an entrepreneur who's got an HR consulting entity, I've incorporated my coaching as part of my offering. And so I will go into the organization, I will say, whilst I embed myself in the organization, I have this basket of skills, which is called coaching. I have the ability to work internally with the organization if you wanted to develop capability around the concept of coaching through leaders, through team leaders, through self-directed teams, what does that possibly looks like and feel like. And so taking that application a little bit further and capacitating an organization, but primarily practicing in terms of delivering a service to a corporate entity. And so my practice, I sit on as an associate on various coaching panels where I'm called upon to say, in this particular entity, there's an executive at a C-suite level, could you coach that person for 8 or 10 sessions? And so practically that's where I apply my trade, and that's where I earn a portion of my income. So that's another distinction that kind of I can talk to and what I've experienced.
Lovely, thanks so much. Kaylynn, if you could join us on the screen as well. We've got a question that says, please could you elaborate more on the supervision process as well as the internship process on the postgraduate diploma? So Kaylynn, I'm just going to ask you to speak into the technicalities of this from SACAP side, and then maybe Kirti as an educator and a coach as well. Nkulu, I'm not sure if you do have any comments on the process, but you can maybe just give some input once Kirti has shared hers. Thanks.
Thanks, Steph. So in relation to the internship, it is tied to the postgraduate diploma in coaching. It's basically the last 6 months of the 2-year journey. It is an opportunity for you to, formalize your coaching. We always tell students that you step into the field and you own the space, and you kind of use it as an opportunity to run your coaching practice or practice thereof. So when you step into the internship, you are placed at one of SACAP's placement sites. You can also do it at an organization of your choice. It could also be your current workplace. And the 6-month internship basically allows you to coach a minimum of 8 clients. You need to cover at least 75 to 100 hours, and you are allocated a coach supervisor. For the 6 months, the supervisor is obviously there to support you during your journey. It is for your professional development. It's an opportunity to kind of define your model, as Nkulu has also spoken about. And it just, I think after the internship process, when you get the opportunity to kind of write your final report, there's this big reflection that you sit with. You don't only reflect on the 6 months of the internship, but you also reflect on your 2-year journey. And you remember, who you were when you started. And you kind of look at where you're sitting now at the end of the journey. An immense of growth. The coaching team witnesses it, the educators, they also witness it, and you will witness it yourself. So the supervision process, I don't sit within the supervision process, but Kirti, perhaps I can ask you to elaborate on that. Kirti is one of our supervisors in the internship module.
Absolutely. So, when I spoke earlier on, I was saying that coaching and the coach provides a safe space for the client or the team that they're working with. Coaching supervision provides, and the supervisor provides a safe space for the coach. So often professionals who are in this type of work, coaching, counseling, mentoring, etc., need a safe space where they can unpack either the personal challenges they're experiencing with their practice, in this instance, coaching, the coaching process, or maybe even topics that are coming up in the coaching practice. And thirdly, any ethical dilemmas that might come up or any professional challenges that might come up. So coaching supervision is not Often people think it's that supervisor who's standing over you with a whip, ready to get, pick out all the mistakes you're making and whip you into shape. No, it's not that typical supervision that you think of. It really is a very safe space and a reflective space where you can reflect on what comes up for you as a person, your emotional well-being, the triggers that perhaps show up for you, the difficulties that you might be experiencing as a person, listening to your client. Maybe you're challenged by their values and you don't know what to do, or you don't know how to get past the fact that you're judging their values, or whatever it is that you're seeing about yourself. Or any challenges. Maybe you're stuck and you constantly want to help somebody and give them advice instead of continuing with the questioning methodology. So as a practice, you have challenges. And it's a safe space because generally you don't want your authority or your competence as a coach questioned. So you do need a safe space where you can explore and grow and meet your challenges. If you don't, then you never develop your coach being and your coaching practice. So that's what coaching supervision really supports you to do. And in the internship period, in that 6 months, it's expanded towards the model that you create and how that model is supporting your coaching practice. Is there anything you need to shift and refine in that model? What about your coach being? How are you showing up? What is it that you're seeing that you didn't see when you did the theory aspect of coaching? Is it for you? Are you finding that, oh my God, it drains your energy? You can't spend your time listening to people. You're too distracted. Your ADHD definitely doesn't allow you to step into coaching. Supervision might, in fact, show you that it is possible with all of those challenges to be a coach and to even maybe fall in love with the practice. So the supervision really is a safe space for you to take anything, really anything. Those 3 pillars cover just about everything into a coaching supervision space to grow and learn and develop as a person. Nkulu, would you like to add?
Yeah, thanks, Kirti. I think as I said, you've covered it in very much detail. What I'd like to add is, whilst it's a collaborative experience, really it's about me as the learning individual going through an internship experience, literally applying the knowledge that I've gained. It really sits with me, the value that I get from that experience. So as you can hear, Kirti is a seasoned campaigner in the area of coaching. And so it's about me being able to have the opportunity to mine as much as I can from her experience, from her knowledge, for her discernment as well to a degree. Because what I bring to the conversation, there's a heightened level of vulnerability that I need to bring as well. And I must just add, in my sessions, I mean, there were moments where there were tears and pause and it just blow the nose and just dab the eyes, because it really is a reflective practice. And it's okay. It's about that safe environment. I mean, how often do we get somebody just listening and paying attention to us, who are dedicated to our well-being, to our development, to our growth? And so you really just make massive use of those moments. So it was for me to set up the times, the pace of those sessions, etc. And so again, what I'm really trying to say, it's up to you, the amount of effort you put in terms of preparation for that time and in the session of how much you're giving of yourself is massively powerful, because from there, it's amazing what you learn, because it really serves your client ultimately when you begin to deal with your issues, and not to take those into a coaching conversation, because there are triggers. There's a client that I've engaged with, there's triggers. If, for example, a loss of a dear loved one, like a dad, I've got a coaching client where that was the case. But because of the coaching supervision experience and the loss of my father, and he was able to take me through that, manage that process, I was able to hold my boundaries, knew what the triggers were and how to deal with it. It's just a practical case study of my personal journey. And so just to say, it's what you bring. What you bring is then what you get out. And so if you're going to bring limited, know that you're going to get out limited. If you're going to bring it as much as you can, you'll know you'll really learn from the experience, which I benefited hugely. I won't add anything further.
Wow. Yeah, thank you, all 3 of you, just for, robustly answering that question. And I think it puts this internship really into perspective for potential students. So Kaylynn, I've got 2 questions for you. The first one is, are there any distance learning options? So for instance, outside of Cape Town or Gauteng, perhaps you could speak into the blended learning approach, please.
Yeah, thanks, Steph. So in relation to, want to say like the program offering, there is a blended learning approach. Nkulu spoke about having that face-to-face time with your educators. So the one type of module is your evening sessions, which does take place online. It is usually a 10 consecutive week module where you are expected to be online in class for one evening of the week. You can bring along your dinner, your notes. You can sit on a comfortable couch, so you don't have to be, on campus during winter. So that's your evening sessions, which are online. And then we also have what we call your intensive modules. And these modules are usually 4 or 5 consecutive days, whereby you would need to be on campus. The coaching programs are currently being delivered on our Cape Town and Joburg campuses. So for applicants or students who are sitting outside of Cape Town and Joburg, we encourage you to possibly complete the online sessions in the comfort of your own home, and then based on the timetable and the dates or the scheduling of the intensive modules, perhaps go to the nearest campus closest to you, whether it's Cape Town or Joburg. Attendance or class attendance is quite compulsory. The synchronous time and your face-to-face sessions with your educator forms part of the accreditation of the program. Also, it gives you the opportunity to grow your first coaching network. You get to meet your classmates. I mean, we can go on all evening about the benefits of your face-to-face sessions as well as your online. But yeah, I think I've answered that question, Steph. Not sure if there's anything more that you need to know.
Yes, no, that was perfect. Thanks, Kaylynn. And then just if we do have any further questions about, the scheduling and the timetable, by all means, please do leave your email address in our Q&A box or our chat box, and our team will definitely contact you. So Kaylynn, our last question for this evening, can these programs somehow be integrated with psychology in order to gain more knowledge and skills should one venture into industrial or organizational psychology?
Okay, so because it's SACAP's coaching programs, there is definitely a psychological lens that we embark on as we weave through the coaching programs. You start off the program with a module called Applied Psychology in Coaching. For our students who have a psychology background, it's more of a refresher, I want to say, but for our students who have absolutely no background or no formal qualifications in psychology, it is a nice introduction to psychology. It gives you an opportunity to we start off with defining coaching, defining counseling, therapy. You kind of get to understand where are the overlaps, where are the differences, but also where are the similarities. And then as you weave through the 10-week module, Applied Psychology, you are then introduced to various psychological theories. And I want to say the second layer to that is, so how does that psychological theories take place in a coaching conversation? So throughout the program, yes, we will focus on the ICF coaching competencies. We'll focus on Commence's behavioral standards. But again, it's then tied, you are then able to tie it to a psychological theory. The class is obviously quite diverse. So you will have your students who are registered counselors, you will have your psychologists in class, you will have your HR managers, you will have your industrial psychologists who now want to add coaching to their toolkit. Yeah, not quite sure if I've answered. I don't know if there's anything, Nkulu, that you perhaps want to add. Yeah.
No, I think, Kaylynn, you've covered it quite clearly. It's not a heavy lifting in terms of the kind of the theory component. It's very easily understood, and it's communicated and lectured or facilitated in a really easy manner, easy way of understanding and comprehending. I've got an industrial psychology background in terms of my undergrad. And so for me, it was a lovely refresher because, you know, it's all about application at the end of the day. So the principle of taking what you've learned, you know, conceptually around the psychology and applying that into the coaching framework, that's where the magic happens. And understanding where you can dance and not dance and how to refer if you start going to the counseling and therapy world, it really helps manage you well in those spheres. But other than that, I think, you know, in my class, I had counselors, I did have psychologists, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I had HR, I had learning and development fraternity, I had a reward and benefits individual in the fray. So really varied individuals who bring their lens to applying the psychology element that they learn. And so you learn from them. Oh, okay, I didn't realize it could actually be land in that context. So I've learned something now, and, you know, note that down, I'll take it forward. So that's the kind of experience that I had on that particular question.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing to our panel. Once again, thank you from the SACAP team, and I think I can speak for all attendees. This was very insightful. There's a lot of information that was shared, and it's definitely given us the nuggets that we need, you know, to go forward if coaching is for us. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of our Q&A session as well as our webinar for this evening. So if you didn't get to ask a question, or, you know, something's just come up for you, please feel free to leave your question as well as your email address in our Q&A box, or if you'd just like our team to contact you with more information about coaching at SACAP. You will see in our chat box that there is a link to our coaching programs as well as to our application form. Applications for our coaching programs are currently open and classes will start in June. If you are really interested in learning more about what our campus looks like, or would like to speak face-to-face to our team, our open days are coming up in May. This will also be available to you on SACAP's website. Thank you once again to our panel, our attendees for joining us, and I wish you all a lovely evening further. Good night.